Hi, everybody. Welcome back to a special incognito version of Stefanie Drysdale's weekly cybersecurity recap, number 26 for Friday, July 3rd, 2020. Miss Stefanie, if that's you, welcome back.
Hi, Chuck. How are you?
Good, good. That's a very, I would say, dashing face mask you have on there. What's the occasion?
Thank
I know
you.
this is tied into some story.
It is, there's a lot of, debate right now to mask or not to mask. So I'm representing the mask club. I'm not saying that it's the only take, but I am saying that like I'm representing here in Chicago, trying to keep everything open and keep everyone safe.
Fair enough. Fair enough. What's going on with the cyber bad guys? I'm
So
sure they're causing more trouble.
absolutely, absolutely, never a dull moment. So this week, the Wall Street Journal shared, they're considered a pretty unbiased news source. They shared an article about why people are scoffing at masks so much, who tends to be the people who are really more oppositional to it and the ones who are more cooperative. So we kind of, go into that and just, again, just look at it with the risk reward. If I don't wear a mask and I'm wrong, then bad things happen and people get sick. If I do wear a mask and I'm wrong, then I just look extra cool and like a bank robber. So, that's always a good thing, I guess. In addition to the mask rules, there are a lot of rules lately about US travelers being banned from places, especially in Europe right now. And even here in Chicago, we've instituted a traveler advisory that if travelers come to the Chicago area from any of the places, states that are experiencing high growth rates right now, that they are instructed to self-quarantine for 14 days. So this is really impacting everyone else. It's really slowing down the opening of things, which has a big economic impact. So let's all kind of do our part to maybe find some common ground and get this behind us as soon as possible if we can. Charles Erding shared an article this week, really informative from CNET, talking about what data that Google has on you and how to delete it. The Apple iOS 14 updates due out this fall is already in its beta version, and it is calling out all of the information that the apps are collecting on you right now. And even apps like LinkedIn that we love so much are getting kind of called out. We're realizing a lot of this is an iOS thing. And not necessarily the apps themselves, but with apps out there like TikTok who are taking incredible liberties with our information to a dangerous level. We just need to be incredibly careful. And let's hope that Android steps up their game pretty quickly to keep us safe on their end and create greater visibility for us. InfoSec Institute discussed dark web fraud and the spread of how-to guides that make cybercrime really, really easy for novices to get started in the cyber business for as little as like $4. So while some of these guides aren't really good guides, they still create a lot more ease for a criminal to get into the cybercrime business. So keep an eye out for those in terms of your company and how to offset what they're sharing and make sure that you have the proper protections to kind of fortify against those. Wealth Daily highlighted the broader impact that the racial wealth gap has on everyone, with economists showing the bottom line impact that it has on GDP. Really informative articles. I know there's a lot going on right now in terms of systemic racism and inequality and all these things, white privilege. I know some people are having a hard time wrapping their head around this. Please, if everyone could, this is the time where we come together, where we listen a lot, and where we try not to take this too personally. I think it really just helps us all move forward really, really positively if we can listen. So Neiman Lab shared a study that was conducted by researchers at Gordon Pennycook. It examined why people share misinformation, and particularly around Black Lives Matter and COVID-19 lately. It cited a large amount of that simply due to distraction, that we're not thoroughly reading what we're sharing. And we're just sharing it with a really high level scan. In addition to that, it also brought up the effectiveness, a simple nudging to encourage people to fact check or to question the sources of their information before just sharing it or assuming that it's all true. So I'm going to keep nudging us to make sure that our information is good information. Jonathan Chubefa wrote a blog post for Triage Health Law blog on business integrity and maintaining transparency and accountability through the COVID-19 crisis. It was written for the healthcare sector, but it was really applicable, I thought, to a much broader audience and organized in a really helpful, digestible format. So try to check that blog post out as well, if you could. Christophe Foulon shared an article from Medium that had tips for getting a job in cybersecurity. I get questions about this really, really often. Dr. Mansour Ahazi also shared his 13 best cybersecurity books, great and easy places for us all to kind of start our journey and kind of just determine the path that's best for you before you maybe invest in those degrees or certifications or whatever. It's such a broad question. So when people ask me where to begin, there are a number of places that you can begin, and there are a number of roles within cybersecurity that may be easy fits for you or may be of more interest. So do a little bit of homework and kind of research and poke around if you would, and then kind of see where that takes you and see what's of interest. Mark Nielsen shared an article this week about protesters setting up a guillotine outside the home of Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos. Leaders need to be on really heightened alert right now. People are really, really charged with coronavirus and being out of work and protests. It's a really kind of scary, uncertain time for a lot of people. And so they're inclined to act out or to try to lay blame on someone. So highly recommend security teams are checking the digital presence of their executives and people on their board, just to kind of add a layer of protection and privacy to them to hopefully prevent a situation like this from either happening or escalating. Nabin Umair shared a Bloomberg article that drew a correlation between active shooter or mass shooters and domestic violence. Really highlighted how people who have a higher degree of domestic violence tend to do more damage in a mass shooting situation. This is not a fun topic. We don't like to think about this, but from an insider threat perspective, this is a really strong case for ongoing screening. You may have an employee that's been working with you for 10, 20, 30 years. Over that course of time, if you've not done any evergreen screenings on them, you may not know that there are additional court cases that may have come up in the meantime, and perhaps a domestic violence situation that's appeared or escalated over the course of that time. So unfortunately, definitely something we need to keep an eye out for. And that's what I have for you this week. Happy 4th of July early. I hope everyone has great plans and that you're celebrating our independence as much as we have it under quarantine and all things considered. But let's make it a great one. Everyone stay safe, and I will look forward to speaking to you next week.